Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Evening, ma'am.
How are you today?
Fine.
Fine? Yes. Did you go through our previous lessons? I think this is our fifth lesson, right? Yes, I think you all have gone through the PowerPoint presentations and revised what you have learned, right? And then I think you have a sort of a knowledge now, right, about our topic. The subject is foundation of education, right? Philosophy and education, that's very important, right? So educational philosophy, right? That's the label or the subject, right? Educational philosophy. So you have to study the relationship between the two, education and philosophy. You should be able to define what education is, what philosophy is, right? So these ideas are important. And today we have only how many people now? 13, including me, right? Yes. Then you all have to revise what you have learned. You all have to ask me questions if you can't understand anything or something is not very clear to you, right? So then get ready for a discussion, maybe next week or week after, right? And then we'll be able to revise what we all have done so far and get ready for an examination, right? And I've given you the whole stuff, whole lot of stuff is given because everything is important for you. You can listen to our discussions and then you can go through and read whatever they are in PowerPoint presentations and understand the relationship between education and philosophy and the importance of philosophy for us. And at the same time, as I am telling you every day, you can change your practices day by day because you all are a set of students who are studying all these professional area subjects. You study measurement and evaluation, educational measurement and evaluation, educational psychology. These things are important. Using the particular knowledge gathered through our discussions, I think you all can change at least a little bit, right? Then only your study course is completed, right? You have to pass the examinations, you have to write the answers or the assignments, and you have to apply whatever the knowledge is gathered through all these subjects. Okay, right. Now let me share this today. Okay. Now we have to discuss more about educational philosophy today. We are going to discuss some of the definitions because we have already discussed some definitions, and we have to think of the scope of educational philosophy and functions of educational philosophy, right? Once again, we are going to, now once we think of the objectives of the lesson, you should be able to state the meaning of educational philosophy, right? Everyone, by the end of the lesson, you don't have to study it further. You don't have to postpone how you have to define it, but today itself you have to decide how I have to uh, think of the meaning of educational philosophy. Okay, you have to study the definitions provided to you, and you have to think of your own definition. Then scope of educational philosophy means how educational philosophy focuses its attention on different areas of education, right? Then functions of the field of educational philosophy. What does it do? Okay. Right. Now, once we think of education, you have to understand that education is more than just schooling. It's a fundamental human endeavor, right? Means endeavor means an effort. Okay. Now, what do you think? We discussed when we start our education. Can you remember when do you start your education, or when did you start? What do you say? Yes, tell me the answers. When did you start education? Your education?
From birth. From birth.
From birth. That's right. Okay. You have to continue up to your death, right? And what else did we discuss related to education? You have to revise what we all have learned so far. Yeah? What else about education? Is it a process? Is education a process?
Yes.
Yes. Which type of a process then? Because you start,
Long-term process.
long-term process, very good. And you say that you start it from the birth and you continue it up to your death. Then how does it, how do we call it? Yes. Education is a lifelong process. Is it clear to you?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to remember that education is a lifelong process, right? People make an effort every day. They make an effort to learn, right? It is a human endeavor, right? Human effort. And we discussed that education, we have 3 modes of education. Can you remember what are the 3 modes of education? Or 3 types, you can just say. School education and university education, what did we call that? The things you learn from home, the things our children learn from their parents in the very young age. What do we call
Primary
that?
education.
Huh?
Primary education.
At home?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten, yes, preschool education, we say. Before that, and now also you are studying. What do we call this type of education? You are studying studying a course. That's called Bachelor of Education, right?
Higher studies.
Higher studies. Do we, you have to pay money for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a number of universities in the country, but you selected this institution. Or you were forced to select this by somebody. Hmm? No.
No.
It's your choice, right? What
Yes.
do we call this type of education? Hmm? Can't remember? Non-formal education, right? At school, there's a timetable, there's a fixed place, right? There's the system for going up the ladder, from grade 1 to grade 13. And there are public examinations common to the whole country. And you can't select the public examination. No, GC O level, GCA level, they are common to every citizen in the country. So what do we call that particular education?
Formal
That's right, very
education.
good. Formal education. Good. Right. Then you said you start your education at home and you imitate. Our small children, they look at their parents and they imitate. If they want to climb a tree, they just see somebody is climbing a tree, then they just try to do it. You are fixing a nail at home, then your child will try to do that. That type of education. You go to the temple and or the church or the mosque and you start worshipping. Then your children, they will do it. What is that?
Informal education.
Informal education. That's right. Yes. Not only from the school, we learn from the whole life, right? We learn throughout our life. Informal education from the immediate parents and immediate family members, and then from the society, from the religious institutions, from the peer group, right? We have our friends, and even now we learn some, maybe how to prepare a special curry or whatever we learn from our friends, maybe from the social media. That's called informal education. The systematic, structured education at school and university, right? Free of charge and common to everyone, that's called formal education. And after completing formal education, anybody can select non-formal education opportunities. Okay? Right. Then that's about education. Then philosophy. How does philosophy help us? For education. Right? We just understand that philosophy is answering our questions. Philosophy inquires, that through that inquiry, we get solutions or the answers. And philosophy helps us to get the accepted beliefs and assumptions. Those things can operate, or those things can mold educational practices. Those things can improve our educational practices, the beliefs from the educational philosophy or the philosophical ideas, right? Then if you understand educational philosophy, right, your understanding will empower the teacher to become more thoughtful and effective, right? and you can make the children more effective learners, and you will be effective educators, teachers, right? Facilitators, okay? Now, because of educational philosophy, you might think the different aspects of a sort of a problem in the classroom. Therefore, you think of finding a philosophical solution that will make you an effective teacher. Okay, the teacher should not be a narrow-minded person. A teacher should not be partial, right? Teacher should be impartial. Teacher should treat everyone equally, right? Pay attention to every individual in the classroom, right? So like that, the teacher's practice is improved. It will be more effective because of the educational philosophy. Right. Now, once again, I want you all to revise whatever you learned about philosophy. So how the word is formed, right? Etymology from the Greek words philo and sophia, love of wisdom, right? That became philosophy. Okay? The meaning, the core meaning of the word philosophy, right? So you have to understand all these ideas, which is important about when we discuss philosophy, right? Philosophy questions about our existence, knowledge, values in the society, the accepted norms and values in the society, reason why these things happen. So we get the answer, right? And the mind of people, how people's mind, how human mind is working, and language. Language is influential on everything. And here also, language matters a lot, right? Then philosophy becomes a systematic and critical inquiry, right? So that's important. Critical thinking is also related to philosophy. And philosophy, in philosophy, there is emphasis on rational argument and logical reasoning, right? Without just thinking or looking for the answer, we should understand every question, every issue, every problem has different aspects, right? Therefore, our argument, logical reasoning, they are important, okay? And critical analysis of concepts and beliefs. You have to analyze all these concepts, right? Now there is a concept called education. There's a concept called philosophy, and concepts like we have to just discuss concepts like the human values, right? So then we have to think critically and analyze them, okay? And different beliefs in the system of education, different beliefs in the society, we have to think critically about them, right? And then searching, right? Seeking knowledge, that's important, right? Search for fundamental truths and principles, right? When we think of education, we look for principles of education, right? Fundamental truths. What are fundamental truths about people? What are fundamental truths about education or the children? Like that, we have to think of all these when we use philosophy for the purpose of education. Right. Another important aspect, what is educational philosophy? We discussed it. Once again, we have to examine what it is, right? Educational philosophy examines educational theories, practices, and policies. Okay, educational theories, practices, and policies. You know, when you are in the classroom, you think of the theories of learning, different learning theories, and then the practices, that means you know how to put whatever you have learned so far into practice, right? We sometimes call it teaching practice, right? Or theory to practice. That means you learn the theory and practice what you learned in the classroom. And the policies, you know, in any education system, there should be educational policies. When we are planning the educational policies, we have to apply philosophical methods and perspectives. Perspectives means we have to think of different angles, right? Philosophical methods are important, okay? Then, seeks to understand the nature, aims, and problems of education from a philosophical standpoint, right? Educational philosophy. We need educational philosophy to understand the nature, understand the aims and problems of education, nature of education. Okay? So then we have to think of a base. That means the philosophical standpoint, right? Nature of education, how is education in a country? The education system in Sri Lanka is different from the education system in another country, for example, in England or the USA, like that, right? Every country has its own philosophical standpoint. And people accept that in Finland, they have the best system of education, right? Once they analyze all these theories, their educational theories, their practices and policies, right? So different to countries' geography, different to the country's educational philosophy and the country's economy especially. All these things influence the system of education in a country. When we discuss the nature of education, aims of education, problems of education, our philosophical ideas are very important. Therefore, you have to understand educational philosophy. Right. Now, can anybody answer these questions? Just give me your answers. What is the purpose of education? What knowledge and skills are most valuable? How should we teach and learn? What is the role of the teacher and the student? What organizes a just and equitable educational system? A fair education system by everyone. Okay, let's take the first one. What is the purpose of education? Can anybody tell me within one sentence? Right? Just tell me. If you go wrong, that's not a problem. What is the purpose of education? There's no
help
the
in
answer. There are many different angles. So You can think of whatever according to your point of view. We can just
To help,
ah,
to help to help individuals to acquire knowledge.
yes, yes. That means we have to develop individuals' knowledge. Okay, good.
To
Any
gain
other?
knowledge.
Gain knowledge. Okay, right. One purpose is that. What
To
else?
develop knowledge, skills, and values and characters.
All right, yes. A person's maybe the whole behavior pattern, right? Knowledge, attitudes, skills. Character means the social skills and the personality. Very good. Yes. Any other? Right. Okay. You can understand that. Yes, there's a purpose of education. The purpose of education is to produce a useful
Individual
citizen.
growth.
Ah,
Individual growth.
individual growth. The person's switch off your mics if you don't contribute anything to the class. Right.
Produce
Yes.
a good citizen for the country.
Country, very good. Yes. To produce a citizen, useful citizen, a good citizen to the country. Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. What knowledge and skills are most valuable? Can you give an answer to that? What knowledge and what skills are most valuable?
It's like think critically and communicate clearly.
Critical thinking and communicative skills. All right, yes.
Teamwork.
Okay, good.
Discovering new things by apply the
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yes, discovering new things, and that means they have to generate knowledge. They have to explore the world and explore the environment or explore the
Learn
opportunity.
in the practical life.
Yes, okay. Practical things, practice and learn, or learning through experience, right? Anything else? Right. Let's move on to the next question. How should we teach and learn? What is your idea? How should we teach? Just give me your answer.
Throughout the activity and meaningful experience and connect with the real life situations.
Very good. Yes. Now we can teach through different activities. Why we wanted the students to get experience from real life situations. Okay. Anything else? Yes, yes, yes. How should we learn? Now you are learning, right? You are learning different subjects. How should you learn?
With the help of technology.
For learning, you can make use of technology. What else?
From the teachers and lecturers.
Yes, from a third party, you can get some other person's ideas, some other person's knowledge. Okay. Right.
From the books.
Very good. You can use different resources. As you said, you can use technology, books, different resource materials. Right. Okay, good. What is the role of the teacher and what is the role of the student when we think of education? Role of the teacher. Imagine your classroom.
Teacher need to guide and inspire the student with support to learn.
Yeah, now remember, once you go to your school, maybe day after tomorrow, the teacher should be the facilitator. Teacher should plan different activities which are interesting, which are influential, which are effective for students' learning, right? Teacher has to think of activities for getting everybody's participation, right? And teacher should focus her attention, his or her attention on every student in the class, right? Teacher has to think of the student's level. Okay, good. Now, what is the role of the student then? Your students, what should they do? They also have a responsibility. What should they do?
They
Active
learn with
participation.
curiosity.
Emphatic participation. And
Active participation. Yeah, what else? Some other
They
person?
will questioning with the question
Questioning is important, right?
and take the responsibilities of their work.
Right. They are responsible. They have to understand their responsibilities. And one of you said something else. What is it?
Engage active learning.
Active learning. Yes. Yes. Active thinking process should be there. Active learning should be there. The child himself has to learn. Right? Now, even parents are criticizing or the society is criticizing. They are not teaching. Right? They are not teaching properly like that. But why don't we emphasize on the students' part? The students, they have to learn. They have to participate actively, right?
The
Okay.
students should listen actively.
Yes, very good. They can just pretend that they are listening, but there should be not passive listening. It should be active listening, right? Yes, from the students' part. Okay, now here also some of you might just switch on the computer, then got the link and then just join the class, but sometimes not actively listening, right? Maybe there's a problem or due to different reasons. In the classroom, in the same way, the children can pretend that they are listening, but they don't listen properly to the teacher, right? Then, what organizes a just and equitable educational system? Who can give a fair, equal educational opportunities? Right? If you say now in the previous or the ancient, I mean, the past era or past years, we focused on a just society, right? Fair by everyone. Equitable educational system is important, right? Equal opportunities for everyone. Who can organize that?
The government.
Sorry, what is it?
The government of the country, madam.
That's right. Yes, the government, the state can organize, right? And if we think the overall system, okay? Now, if you think of the system of education, the schools under Ministry of Education, then the ministry is responsible, right? And fair and equitable educational system. But within your classroom, you are the authority. You also should contribute to that, right? You also have to provide equal opportunities to children. That's not easy, but I mean, you can just think of providing equal opportunities to the maximum, right? As much as possible, right? You can be fair by everyone as much as possible. And you know, there are different regions or the provinces in the country. Now you can see the regional differences, provincial differences, right? So as you said, the government can take steps to be fair by every individual, every learner, every student, every child in the country. Okay, right. Those ideas are important about the system of education in a country. Let's discuss them further now. Right. Now we can get some answers to these questions, to the questions we discussed using these guidelines through the scope of educational philosophy. That means, what areas does educational philosophy explore? Right? Educational philosophy should influence the given areas here. That means it has to influence aims and goals of education, curriculum, teaching methodologies, nature of the learner, social and political issues in education, epistemology and education, ethics and education, philosophy of educational research, why we have to do some research and all that, educational research, and most importantly, role of the teacher. These areas are addressed by educational philosophy. Right. Just go through this for a while now. Right. Once we spoke about the purpose of education, I can remember someone of you said the personal growth, and the child's development and all that. Yes. Now, when we think of aims and goals of education, the ultimate purposes. Now we want to produce a good citizen. Why? There can be the social change, right? And we train the child or we give them the vocational training, and then it is useful for the particular individual and the society as well. Okay. So aims and education, aims and goals of education are influenced by educational philosophy. Right. Then educational philosophy considers regarding the curriculum, right? And based on our philosophy, the Sri Lanka's educational philosophy, we select, or the authorities select and organize the content to be taught in the Sri Lankan school system, right? Earlier we had different subjects. I can remember that's called pre-vocational subject. Now we have for GC O-level examination, basket subjects, and students have a choice. Like that, the subjects and the content to be taught is important. They are important. At the same time, they are decided after a careful consideration, right? And you know, some subjects are integrated, right? Now, for example, in the primary education, primary school, there's a subject called environmental studies or environmental related activities. That's an integrated subject, right? You can just think the science is there, history, and then dancing, music, art, and then handicraft. All these are integrated. Like that, those subjects have been integrated. So like that, those things, the curriculum in the primary education, the secondary school curriculum, like that, all these things are decided according to philosophical consideration. And your teaching methodologies, right? Now, you know, earlier it was teacher-centered. That's really easy, I think, for the teacher, but less effective at times in most cases. But now we focus on student-centered learning. Child should be the most active participant. Like that, we have a principle there, right? We understand that we focus on student-centered education. And those are pedagogical approaches. How to teach it? Pedagogical means the teaching, learning approaches. Okay, the context of the teaching, learning is designed, planned according to philosophical ideas, according to educational philosophy. Then, nature of the learner. Now, we decide the content to be taught, we decide the methods to be taught, and we have to assume or we have to understand the students' differences, students' level, how they study, and their motivational factors, and which type of motivation should be there. Maybe the self-motivation, or you have to, the teacher has to motivate them to learn. Like that. Now we have grade 1, grade 2, and then in the primary education, we have stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Stage 1 means grade 1 and 2. Stage 2 means 3 and 4. Stage 3 means grade 5. So they are the developmental stages of a child. Depending on those stages, we have to plan and implement education. Right. Now, social and political issues in education. Right? Now you know there are political ideologies in a country. Right? Now, once you analyze the whole world, there are different political ideologies. According to them, they plan their societies. They plan their education systems. Okay? And educational philosophy emphasizes on equity, access, and inclusion. I think I told you about inclusive education. Everyone should be included in the system of education. Right? Even though some children have special education needs, right? Maybe some they are differently abled. Even then, they should get the opportunity for equal education opportunities. That's the idea, right? So it is very difficult. In practice, it's difficult, but you know, you have to maximize the effectiveness of those ideas, right? And the social structure of a country. That's also important, right? Because the social structure, how society is formed. Now you know there are different layers in the society. Upper class, middle class, and lower class. And those classes are divided into subclasses, right? Like that. You have to just think of those things as well. Because you know now, even though people are coming from different backgrounds to the society, to the school, there are different issues at times, maybe in the classroom. But these things are to be analyzed well, and we have to address all these issues, right? Then epistemology and education. I think you can remember epistemology. That means knowledge-based, right? How we know and how we know what we know. That means how we gather knowledge, right? How we gather knowledge. That means the effectiveness of teaching and learning. That's also important. Then ethics and education. Right? Ethics are important for any society, any person, any family. There should be ethics, accepted norms, right? Moral principles. So they guide our educational practices, especially the educational authorities, then the educational managers, and who are at operational level, they are the teachers, right? Their moral principles are important on developing ethical citizens. And everyone should focus on the ethical people, ethical citizens. If we want to produce ethical citizens, that means citizens who respect the ethics, respect the norms of the society, values of the society, we have to train them from the very beginning. So like that, those things are to be included in the system of education, right? Then philosophy of educational research. Yes, and you know why we have to do research, right? We are going to generate new knowledge, right? You have to examine the assumptions and the methodologies used in the system, right? Now, if you want to implement a research, you just inquire about the effectiveness of child-centered education. You can inquire, right? So then you have to think of the methodologies we use and the assumptions or the accepted things related to educational systems. So we use philosophy for deciding on how we have to do research, right? And what we have to do about the research, I mean, the topics to be selected like that. Then as we discussed earlier, the role of the teacher. Role of the teacher's responsibilities, teacher's authority and ethical obligations are important. I've told you that the teacher is the authority in the classroom, and during your classroom period, you may arrange the classroom according to how you want. But after leaving the class, if you just have only 40 minutes time for a lesson, then after the end of the lesson, you have to rearrange the classroom because you become the authority only for 40 minutes time, not for the whole day. Therefore, the changes you make should be reversed when you hand over the class to the next teacher, right? So then we have to think critically related to these ideas, and as teachers, you have to examine the responsibilities, examine your authority. Maybe you can't be overact, or you can't go beyond your level, right? You can't take actions beyond your control, but you have a certain limit, but you have certain obligations and authority. Okay? Remember them. Therefore, these ideas, what we are teaching you based on educational philosophy. You also should be a critical thinker, a great thinker like ancient philosophers, and then you have to think of your own policies to your classroom. That means you think philosophically and decide on what's happening and what should happen in the classroom. Okay? Right. Any questions regarding this? No? Yes? Any questions? Hello? Oh, sorry. Whose mic is working unnecessarily? Safa? Safa, can you? No, Safa is okay. Whose mic? Switch off your mics for a while. All right. Right. What's there? Right. Then functions of educational philosophy. Just go through this for a while. We discuss the areas, the scope of educational philosophy. Right. In addition to what we have discussed so far, there are some more ideas about functions of educational philosophy, right? Yes, determining the aspects of education as we discussed earlier. Earlier we discussed the areas which are covered, right? And now, what does what does educational philosophy do, and the different areas here? Now, educational philosophy determines the aspects of education. These aspects, for example, aims of education, curriculum, methods of teaching, discipline, teacher and student administration, right? As you all know. Okay, they have to, the philosophers or the educational authorities have to get the help of educational philosophy when they are determining the aspects of education. Okay, then harmonizing old and new traditions in the field of education. Yes, now we think that, or we just say that it should be activity-based education, it should be student-centered education. However, we understand that there are overlaps, there are maybe good practices when we consider the old traditions, right? And there can be more influential ideas in the old systems. So, and we have innovations, we have new traditions. Therefore, we have to get the balance. We have to think of the balance. In the field of education, we have to think of balancing old traditions and new traditions. Right? Now, depending on the subject you are teaching, depending on the student's level you are teaching, right? Depending on the situation, I mean the resources at school, the environment of the school, you can think of balancing those two, right? Sometimes if you are facing a problem such as lack of resources, lack of space, there's no open classroom, there are no places for activities, and then you have to think of the situation positively and critically, and then you should be able to match old and new traditions, right? Providing the educational planners, administrators, and educators with the progressive vision to achieve educational development. Yes. Now you all know educational planners. They should have the clear vision, right? And then administrators like, the subject director, the principal, the subject head of the school, and then the class teachers, like that. Administrators' part is also important. And the educator or the teacher, right? According to this statement, they should have a progressive vision. Progressive vision should be there. Okay? Right. Then, all these aspects, planning, administrating, and then practicing or the teaching, they should go together, right? They should be appropriate to the student's level, and they should be appropriate to the system. Then only we will be able to achieve the goals of education, national goals of education, right? We should be able to produce useful citizens to the country, right? Then, preparing the young generation to face the challenges of the modern time. So that's again a serious problem nowadays, right? Modern day society is very complex, and the children face number of difficulties. They come from different backgrounds. They sometimes actually, they can be the victims of the society, victims of the modern technology, victims of different people, right? So maybe the victims of natural disasters, like that. Students, the children face different challenges in the modern time. Okay? Maybe financial problems are there, and disturbed domestic situations, family problems are there, like that. So young generation should be able to face the challenges in the society. They should be strong enough. We are human and we don't get whatever we expect all the time, right? We have to face challenges. We have to overcome the problems, right? You have to be very strong. Your decision should be carefully taken. The children's decisions should be very important, and they should be able to work with a lot of patience, right? They should be able to think critically and take decisions like that. That is a challenge actually in the modern era. So philosophical ideas, philosophical ways of thinking, educational philosophy is influential on all these things. Okay? Right. As teachers, you should be able to consider all these ideas. And I think I revised these things for your benefit, and you should be able to get the maximum out of them. Okay? Right. Then, is there any question related to what we discussed so far? Yes? Hello? No questions? So you couldn't understand. What do you say? Hello? Hello, students.
Yes, madam.
Okay. Any question?
No, ma'am. We understood.
All right. Okay, thank you. Then I can stop sharing. Now we have 20 people. Right. Then let's try to answer some of the questions, and you can remember we discussed some of the questions last week, and I think you can remember how we answered. Then this week also you have to answer some of the questions. Okay, I'll give you them now. Just give me a minute. Right. Now there's a simple question for you. Is the relationship between education and philosophy dynamic and interactive? Dynamic means changing and interactive means the two interact with each other. Okay? Right. Now quickly send me your answer and a reason for your answer. Now if you say yes, send me why it is so. Okay? If you say no, you have to think of a reason. Why do you say no to this? Why do you say yes to this? Right? Like that. Okay, take 2 minutes. Don't take much time. Send your answers to the chat box. You have to first of all say yes or no. Then after that, give a reason for that. Okay? Quickly send the answers. Quickly. Okay? Everyone, please. Is the question clear now? Hello? Is the question clear? Yes, you have to give reasons for your answer, right? Yes, think critically. Okay, now your critical teacher's critical thinking is important. And then you have to think critically and give the correct answer. Oh. Right, Sashi. Okay, give the answer. Okay, you can read Sashi's answer. Others also have to think of your answer, right? Send me your answers quickly. Right. Now we have got 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, very good. Yeah, we got some answers. I think you all can go through them, right? Everyone says yes, that's fine. Yeah, very good. Philosophy sets the goals and education strives to achieve them. Correct. Then provides the foundation ideas or principles, right? While education experiences in turn inform philosophical perspectives, yeah. Okay. Lead thinkers to refine and rethink. Yes, thinkers also will be more educative through education, and they can refine or rethink based on the influences of education, and they can improve their philosophical ideas. Guide for educational practices, right? gives the purpose and education makes it real, right? Yes, relationship between education and philosophy. Okay, and it is dynamic, right? Yes, you have to think of why they are changing. The world is changing, right? The society is not static. The society is changing. Therefore, people face different challenges, right? That's why we have to say it's dynamic. People face different challenges. We have to find solutions to them. Especially now we discussed that the teachers, we have a sort of a challenge nowadays, making the young generation strong, make the young generation face the challenges in the society, right? In the future. Okay. Shapes the Shashi's idea. Philosophy shapes the aims, values, and methods of education. Education applies and tests, right? Okay, very good. As society changes, new challenges and questions arise. Okay, good. So philosophy and education, they are constantly influence and reshape. Yeah, okay. Right, yes. Now you all have given me the very important ideas, I should say. Okay, thank you. And let's try another 3 questions at the moment. Let's see, because these are important. Can you all see this? No. Let's see. Only 3 questions now. Can't you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Pila. Right, okay. Yeah. Can you all see the screen? Or is there a problem?
No, ma'am.
You can't see?
Half of the
Ma'am, can you
picture.
make it little bit smaller because it's too big for the
Half of it.
screen?
Ah. Just- How is it now?
Uh,
No,
now it's okay, miss.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Right. Now, let's take question 2. Is education considered more than just schooling? What is your idea? Can you tell me the idea? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then, does philosophical inquiry help in examining the underlying beliefs that shape educational practices? Yes or no?
Yes.
yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Is etymology of philosophy derived from Latin words?
No.
Yes.
Huh? No?
Yes,
What do you say? Latin or Greek? Huh?
I think it's
Latin
Latin.
words.
It's Latin.
Latin words.
Latin words, yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Just check what we discussed so far.
Greek,
Uh,
is it Greek?
Greek
Greek or
words.
Latin?
Great.
Latin
That's an open question. So you all have to check it and tell me. I'm not going to, because you know we discussed several times. And whether if there's a problem, you have to tell me. Okay, right. Now give me the reason. If you say yes, is education considered more than just schooling? Give me a reason. Why? And why does philosophical inquiry help? How does it help us in underlying, in examining shapes and, examining the beliefs and the shape of educational practices? Okay, answer the two questions. One answer I get Greek, right? Greek. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. It's Greek, okay? Right, yes. Give me your reasons for the first one. Sorry, number 2. Is education considered more than just schooling? Why do you say like that? Yeah, now answer the second question. Just think what we discussed so far and give me your answers. Okay, right, it's Greek. So. Yes, answer to question number 2. Quickly write few lines for that. What are the reasons for accepting that it helps us? It is considered more than just schooling. Why? Education is a broad idea, a broad concept. Therefore, it is more than schooling, going to school. How do you say like that? Right, there are 5 answers. Part of formal learning, yes, structured curriculum, lifelong learning, okay. Just part of the education system, yeah, that is a short answer, Sashi. You have to explain a little bit, right? School is just part of the education and the whole process is called a lifelong. And there are different modes, formal, informal, and non-formal. School system is the formal education, right? Formal education, an informal system where a child receives further education from, okay, society and environment, right? Apply that knowledge in your life. Yes, that is also education, okay? And how you gather knowledge is different. Continuous from birth to death, so it is a lifelong. Schooling has defined periods. That means schooling has a particular period, right? Particular time duration. After a particular age, no one can go to schools for their education. Schooling cannot be throughout our life. Schooling has a limit, right? Education happens throughout a person's life from birth to death. Not you can't say birth to adulthood, right? Jayakala should be birth to death, not just during the years
Okay.
in school. Okay, right? Yes, whenever you write about education, you have to say it is a lifelong process and it is from the person's birth to death. Just after the birth, child looks at the people around him or her and then imitates what they say. Now, at the very beginning, they imitate few words, right? First of all, the sounds and then one letter words like you say for water, they just say with the parents' influence, they just say Joe, right? Then some words like Amma, Ma, like that they can imitate with the parents' help. Okay, right. Then we say philosophical inquiry. Let's move on to the third question. Philosophical inquiry help in examining the underlying beliefs that shape educational practices. Yes, philosophy helps us a lot, right? I think I have to just discuss this. Philosophy helps us a lot because with the use of philosophical ideas, right, the philosophical questions, we can get the correct decisions regarding education for shaping educational practices. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the answer as well. You have to give me the reasons, right? Okay. Yes. Otherwise, we don't get enough time. Yeah. Does philosophy emphasize irrational arguments? No. Why do you say so? What is your argument? What is your answer? How do you decide that it's no? No is the correct answer. Irrational arguments. Irrational means not logical. Can anybody send me the answer to the chat box? There are 3 questions. Answer to any, please. Does educational philosophy apply philosophical methods to examine educational theories? Yes. Does educational philosophy seek to understand the aims of education from a philosophical framework, philosophical standpoint? Yes. What is it now? Yes, philosophy is based on reason, right? Once you study philosophy, you could say it's based on reason, logic, and critical thinking. Yes. Any other idea? Yes. Right. Does educational philosophy apply philosophical methods to examine educational theories? Yes. Because, using educational philosophy, educational theories are examined, right? There are different educational theories from time to time, depending on the philosophical ideas. We can just check whether the theory is appropriate to the relevant period. Yes, analysis is there, critical thinking is there, logic and questioning in philosophy. Okay, right. Now let's move on to the third one here. Does educational philosophy seek to understand the aims of education from a philosophical standpoint? Yes, because aims of education of a country depends on country's philosophy. Okay, aims of education in Sri Lanka are different from aims of education in another country, maybe in an Arabian country, in another Asian country, like that. Next one, these 3 questions. What is the purpose of education, right? It is a fundamental, yes, it is a fundamental question addressed by educational philosophy. What can you remember about the purpose of education? Can you remember the purpose of education? You have to focus your attention on these aspects when you study, right? That's why I am giving you these questions. And then does educational philosophy explore curriculum within its scope within the different areas? Yes. Because, again, we have to say curriculum should be relevant to the country's education, relevant to country's economy, right? Because sometimes if you just think of the curriculum of a country and it doesn't go with the economy of the country and the economic needs of the country, the products of the process of education should be appropriate to the economy of the country. That's an example. Like that, we have to explore the curriculum using educational philosophy. Do teaching methodologies fall under the scope of educational philosophy? Yes. Teaching methodologies and the content, they are based on educational philosophy. Does the nature of the learner concern educational philosophy? Yes. The nature of the learner is important. When we speak about educational philosophy, it says that the learner's needs and interests are to be considered. Learner's level is to be considered, and individual differences are to be considered, for example. So like that, you have to think of the nature of the learner. Okay, nature of the learner. When you speak about education system of the country, right? What they need, and then only we have to select the correct approach. Right? Selecting the correct approach, selecting the correct methodology, they are very important. Right. Does educational philosophy analyze the impact of social structures on education? Yes, the social structures, social issues are important. They influence on education. Therefore, through educational philosophy, we have to analyze them. Okay, we have to address them, right? The different structures and different issues in the society. Does epistemology relate to education within the scope of educational philosophy? Can anybody remember what do we refer to using the term epistemology? What can you say? Yes, okay, Sashi's answer, right? Can anybody tell me epistemology? What does it mean? Hello, everyone. You have left the meeting? Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah, one has sent Miss Jayakala. Yes, Jayakala, the purpose of the education is to produce good citizens for the country. Produce useful citizens to the country. Okay, yes, that's one aim. Right, one purpose. Epistemology, what does it mean? Hmm? Even
Knowledge.
Knowledge means knowledge.
It's a knowledge,
thank you
Knowledge.
very much.
the study
Yes.
of the knowledge.
All right. Okay, good. Yes. Knowledge, how to learn and how to, what to learn. Like that,
Yeah.
the knowledge, how to impart knowledge. Right? Yes. Then do moral principles that guide educational practices fall under ethics and education? Yes. Moral principles, they fall under ethics and education. Yeah, does educational philosophy help determine the aims of education? Yes, because when deciding aims of education in a country, you have to consider a lot. You have to think broadly, right? The designers or curriculum developers or the policy makers, they get the help of educational philosophy. Does educational philosophy help harmonizing old and new traditions in education? Yes. Does educational philosophy provide a progressive vision for educational development? Yes. This one. Does educational philosophy prepare the young generation to face modern challenges? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Right. Then, what are the modern challenges? Just tell me within 2 minutes. Everyone, just tell me without taking much time. What are the modern challenges for you, teachers? Huh? No challenges?
Bring the technology into the learning space in the meaningful way.
Yes, that's very good. Using modern technology in a meaningful way. At the same time, children's education is disturbed by modern technology at times, right? Yes. Anything else? Modern challenges? Quickly tell me. No, any idea? Only the technology.
And
Huh?
sometimes children are always waiting for the spoon feeding. They don't have like experimental way to learning the stuff.
Very good.
Because
Yes, that means the attitude of the learner. Attitude of the learner. Learner expects everything from the teacher. Learner wants to be passive. Right. Okay. Yes, that of course a problem to the teacher. What else? Then teacher has to change the child. To change the child's attitudes, right? Yes.
it needs more physical education need to come to the learning space because nowadays most children are lazy. They don't have physical education, so they always like want to like work in one place. They don't want to move themselves.
Yes, we had a term called couch potatoes. That means they become the people who are always sitting somewhere. Earlier, we had that term, the couch potatoes means people, I mean, once the child goes home, they sit on a chair and watch TV. That was a serious problem in the ancient, I mean, in the very recent era, right? And then later on, we got the mobile phones and other technologies, other equipment like laptop computers and all. Then we face another challenge. Child becomes very inactive. In the classroom also, if they are sitting and learning, no physical activities, as you mentioned. So there should be a lot of physical activities in the modern day schools, modern day education systems, right? Yes, that's a very good idea. Yeah. Please try to think of the school context, right? The teaching context, your school, your classroom, the subject you teach, and relate whatever we learn to the subject you are teaching, to the students' level. Oh God, who's that? Right. Okay. Yes, there might be that sort of disturbances from the people at home. They sometimes forget that we are in a lecture. That's also a challenge, right? Yes. Because it's a challenge for me at times. People sometimes they forget that we are online and we are working here. So like that, those things happen. Okay. At school, you have to think of your context and try to relate whatever we learn in this discussion to your classroom practices. Try to improve, empower your practice at school using these ideas. And you can use critical thinking, you can use your creativity, you can make use of this particular knowledge we gather to improve your practices at school. At the same time, remember you have to discuss these things at the examinations as well. Okay, this is our 5th day and there should be one more date in somewhere in July, right? So get ready for that, and before that, I want everyone to go through all 5 PowerPoint presentations and get ready to answer, right? Get ready to answer the questions. Then I think the examination won't be really difficult for you. If you participate actively in these discussions, I think I am repeating a lot, and then you will be able to write the answers without much difficulty. Okay, is there a problem? Or if there's a problem, you can just tell me, and I'm now going to, yes, going to share what? Share what you want, right? That means
The PowerPoint.
yeah.
The PowerPoint.
PowerPoint thing. That's it should be number 5, right? Yes. All right. Okay, I can copy. Using all these PowerPoint presentations, there's a revision and maybe there are repetitions and all that. You may prepare a nicely done note or short note, right? Then I have to save this. Okay. Right. It's sent to you. If it is seen, let me know. Right. Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. Copy it and then or download it and then study well. Right. If you say there are no questions to be asked, and I think now we can stop for today, and there's one more lecture. I'll discuss with them and get a suitable time for that one. And then with the number 6, I think the semester or the unit is over, right? And after that, I think there can be an examination according to their schedule, right? Yes. Okay, then thank you. I think we have 16 people now. Thank you, everyone. And yes, then you all can study well and apply the knowledge there. I wish you all good luck for the work ahead. Okay? Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good night.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
Good night.
ma'am.
Good night. Good night.